Picture Earth from space, a borderless blue marble. For centuries, the lines we draw and the empires we build have shaped history. In the 1800s, Europe was gripped by a fever, not of illness but of conquest and greed for resources. This was more than planting flags. It was a race to control gold, diamonds, rubber and oil, the fuel of the Industrial Revolution. Nations competed fiercely, each colony a source of wealth and power. The Congo's rubber, South Africa's gold, Southeast Asia's tea and opium, these were lifelines for European industry. Empires built railways and ports not for locals but to funnel resources straight to Europe. The rhetoric was civilizing mission, but the reality was extraction and exploitation. The more resources a nation controlled, the stronger it became. Factories, armies, influence. This global scramble rewired the planet, setting the stage for a century of conflict. The hunger for the Earth's treasures would drive nations to extraordinary and terrible lengths. The world was now a battleground for gold and glory. By the late 1800s, Africa became the ultimate prize in Europe's imperial race. At the Berlin Conference, European powers drew borders on maps, ignoring the people and cultures already there. Britain, France, and Belgium seized vast territories. King Leopold II claimed the Congo as his personal property. Colonies were possessions, not partners. Local economies were twisted to serve Europe. Food crops replaced by cotton, cocoa, and rubber. The result, dependency, poverty, and a one-way flow of wealth to Europe. Paris's boulevards and London's banks were built on colonial riches. The global economy became a pyramid, Europe at the top, colonies at the base. This system bred resentment and fierce rivalries among the imperial powers. The scramble for resources created a world of haves and have-nots, by design, not accident. The stage was set for explosive conflict. Into this world stepped Germany, newly unified and hungry for its share of empire. Germany's factories were booming, but it lacked colonies and direct access to vital resources. Leaders like Kaiser Wilhelm II demanded a place in the sun, challenging Britain and France. Germany's rapid industrial growth fueled a naval arms race with Britain, each battleship a symbol of rivalry. Alliances formed: Germany, Austria-Hungary, and Italy versus Britain, France, and Russia. The world split into armed camps, each guarding its economic interests. Tensions mounted as nations eyed each other's colonies and trade routes. The competition for resources and power became a powder keg. All it needed was a spark to ignite a global explosion. The countdown to war had begun. The spark came in 1914 with the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand. But the real cause was the fierce competition for resources and empire. Alliances triggered a chain reaction: Austria-Hungary, Russia, Germany, France, Britain, all drawn in. World War I was the first industrial war, fought for and with resources: iron, coal, oil. Germany aimed to seize France's iron and Belgium's industry. Britain and France fought to protect their empires and access to global resources. Oil-rich Middle Eastern lands became key battlegrounds. Colonies supplied millions of soldiers and endless raw materials, fueling the war machine. The empires demanded sacrifice from people who gained little in return. The war redrew maps but didn't solve the underlying hunger for resources. The competition paused, but the game was far from over. The seeds of future conflict were sown in the trenches. After World War I, the victors gathered to divide the spoils. The Treaty of Versailles dismantled empires, but colonies simply changed hands, mandates in name, colonies in practice. Britain and France carved up the Middle East, drawing artificial borders to secure oil and trade routes. Promises of self-determination were broken, local people remained under foreign control. Germany lost its colonies and resource-rich lands, burdened with crushing reparations. Economic punishment bred resentment and instability, especially in Germany. The global system remained unequal. Old empires clung to power, new rivals simmered with anger. The peace was fragile, the competition for resources unresolved. The world was a tinderbox waiting for the next spark. The struggle for riches and power was far from finished. World War II erupted from the same quest for resources and power. Hitler's Germany sought living space in the east, Ukraine's grain, the Caucasus's oil. Japan, starved of resources, invaded China and Southeast Asia for coal, oil, and rubber. Italy too chased imperial dreams in Africa. For the Axis, war was the only way to break the old empire's grip on global resources. The Allies fought to defend their own networks: Britain's empire, America's industry, Soviet oil fields. The war became a global clash for control of the planet's lifelines: oil fields, shipping lanes, mines, and farms. The destruction was unprecedented, but the underlying struggle was centuries old. The competition for resources had reached its most violent peak. The world would never be the same. After 2 world wars, the West built a new global system, less violent but still driven by the quest for resources. The IMF and World Bank offered loans to developing nations, but with strings attached: privatization, market reforms, and debt. Critics called it a new imperialism. Wealth flowed from poor countries to rich ones, now through economics instead of armies. Multinational corporations bought up resources, while local populations bore the costs. Many nations became trapped in cycles of debt and dependency. The old colonial patterns persisted, just in new forms. Today the scramble is for lithium, cobalt, and water, resources powering our digital age and future conflicts. Oil and gas still drive geopolitics. Fresh water is the new frontier. The game of empire has evolved, but the rules remain. Control the resources, control the future. Our planet's story is still a struggle for its treasures. The question is, what comes next?